Hi there, everyone, and good morning. My name is Jillian Burling, and I'm an analyst on the Child Safety and Permanency team here at DHS. Um, my team is made up of 7 analysts and a supervisor, and we serve 3 primary purposes. We do federal and state performance measurement and monitoring, program evaluation and research, and reporting. Um, One way in which we provide reporting to our stakeholders, especially local agencies, is by managing a server of Tableau dashboards. Um, and I just wanted to come in today, say hi, and remind folks that this is available to them and give some information about how to gain access or troubleshoot if you're having issues. Yeah, so first I wanted to highlight some of the dashboards that we have available. You can hit next. Um, these are just 4 of our standard dashboards with descriptions, audiences, use cases, and the links to access. 3 of these are available on server, and 1 is a public dashboard you can find, anyone can access. That would be the 3rd one. So if you're looking for something, this could be just most everything you need can be found here. And you can hit next. So more information about server. DHS Tableau server relies on your SSIS worker access. So users must have an SSIS account and an associated username and password. Credentials will sync with DHS Tableau server. So to gain access, local agency SSIS administrators can grant access to Tableau. Within the Active Directory credential screen, there's a Tableau box that just needs to be checked. So DHS Tableau Server website will accept the same credentials as SSIS, although we've been told that the initial syncing of those credentials can take up to 12 hours. So we do get questions about issues that people are having. So some troubleshooting tips here. When logging into Tableau server, the username and password will be the same, except there's a prefix. So county-SSIS /. The users will also need to either be on the agency's internet network or logged into a network using a VPN. Then here's some email addresses to reach out to if you have questions. Our team is that dhs.csp.research address. And that is also a great way to reach out if you have questions or you need data or information about the dashboards or you don't see what you need there. You can reach out and our team is incredibly responsive. We'll get back to you most of the time within the day. So yeah, I'm also here if you had any questions today. That's all I have.
Anything in chat for questions for Jillian?
No questions.
Thank you, Jillian.
All right, thank you.
So now we'll get going on the tips and tricks for SSIS, and we will be starting out with, I believe, Anna.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anna Chalupka. I am a DHS SSIS trainer with the User Support Unit. The first tip and trick that I am going to talk about this morning is how to multi-select participants. So when adding clients into SSIS, and you definitely know who your participants are for the intake work group, you can multi-select from the list of names as a time saver. If you press and hold the control key on your keyboard and then select the participant names using your mouse. Next slide. In this next few slides, I'm going to cover the tips and tricks regarding long description, the purpose field, and the find panel. With this slide, we have a screenshot of the SSIS in chronology. So in chronology, when you enter information into the purpose field, it will show up in the long description field. Now, this is only applicable for contacts and not activities. So you have to select the contact name and the contact with. There is an enhancement request for the purpose field to be visible in the long description field for activities. Next slide. Did you know that you can change the view of your grid by using a column chooser? Select the column header located on the top left-hand corner and the menu option will appear. So for this example, on the screenshot, I've selected the following headers: type, long description, date, and staff. If you do not want a certain column to appear a header, you can deselect your selection. All right, in this slide, now any information that you entered in the purpose field as activities in chronology, it will be visible, but it will be visible in the activity log. So when you go to searches and log, a menu will appear and select the user activity log, and that purpose field will appear and what information you entered in that purpose field as activities in chronology. Next slide. Did you know that you can filter your grid by using the find panel option? So when you right click on the top of the grid, a menu option will appear. From the menu option, select the find panel option. A find panel window will appear above the grid. Type the keywords that you're looking for within the grid, then click the find button, and this will filter your list. Next slide. All right. Now moving on to the Adult Protection Intervention tab. Just a couple of reminders about the Interventions tab. Okay, so the first one, when the no intervention box is checked, all other interventions are removed from the grid automatically. And the second, just reminder tip regarding the Adult Protection Interventions tab. So workers have recently contacted the help desk regarding the description field. This field is only available when using unique services. Okay, if you want to provide details regarding to an intervention, this should be placed in the case notes. Interventions are collected for state and national data. Next slide. And lastly, I wanted to let you know that the September 2023 version of the Adult Protection SSIS User Guide is now posted online. You can find the user guide from the SSIS resource page. When you click on the SSIS Adult Protection Worker Trainer link, then from that, from the training resources section, you will find the Adult Protection SSIS User Guide. All right, thank you so much. Any questions?
No questions in the chat, Anna.
Thank you.
Next up will be Summer Day.
Thanks, Ross. Well, good morning. Again, my name is Summer Day Rosette. I'm the ICWA training coordinator with the American Indian Wellbeing Unit. I also liaise between the Minnesota Child Welfare Training Academy and the SSIS BizOps. So today I will be sharing the drag and drop feature. So it's when you're copying an address from one participant's I call it the apes folder, but what I'm referring to is the address, phone, email, state detail folder. Solely because you know, at DHS, we like acronyms. So when I say apes, I'm referring to address, phone, email, state detail folder. So again, I'm going to be sharing the drag and drop feature when copying an address from one participant's ape folder to another in SSIS. So in order to do so, you have to expand both apes folders below each client node that you're planning to drag and drop one address from to the other. If you look in the screenshot above, or the screenshot I'm sharing to the left, I've selected the home address, and you can see that by highlighting it, it's kind of highlighted in a light blue color. So when you select that address, you want to make sure that you're doing a left click with your mouse and holding down that left click button on your mouse. Then you'd proceed to drag that address down to the participant apes folder that you intend to drop the address in. As you're scrolling past other folders, and I did show an example of that in the left screenshot, you'll see there's that circle with a white circle with a white dash through it. This white circle with a white dash just means that you cannot drop or unclick, let go of the left click in order to or excuse me, when you're dragging past these folders. It's just an indicator to let you know that it doesn't belong in that address that you're holding on to does not belong in any of those folders. So that's as you're scrolling past these folders in the tree view, you'll notice that white circle with the slash in it. So when you see the icon, remember it's just solely means that you're unable to drop that address into any of those folders. So once you reach the correct apes folder and you see the drop indicator circle with the white dash now becomes a white sheet of paper, that means you've made it to the folder that you can drop that address into. And so what I did in the screenshot, you'll see we're copying from Stephanie to Mia. So Stephanie's home address is going to be shared, copied into Mia's address, phone, email, state detail folder. Once you see that white sheet of paper, then you're able to let go of the left click, and it will drop that and copy that address into Mia's folder. The one thing I did want to share though is it's in order for this function to work properly, you have to make sure that you can see both both participants' apes folders. You have to make sure they're visible on your screen in order to drag an address from one and drop it into the other. If you can't see the participants' apes folder, once you begin holding down the left click on your mouse, you won't be able to actually scroll beyond what's visible in the tree view. So make sure that you're able to see those folders in there. For some reason, when you're holding down that left click on your mouse and you're trying to scroll through the tree view, it won't allow you to scroll past what's visible on your screen. It could go to the next folder, Ross, or next slide, excuse me. So once the address is copied into the other participants' apes folder, it'll come up as other or unknown, or it will save that way. So you want to make sure, or not save, excuse me, that's what it will identify as, other or unknown in the type of the type of address that you dropped in there. So what you want to do is make sure that you go into that address you just copied, open up bring your field into edit mode, go to the type, and under the dropdown, select home address, because that's the address that you, address type, excuse me, that you dragged from Stephanie's folder to Mia's folder in our test clients here. And then once you've made that adjustment under the type, you can go ahead and save that address. You can use it, of course, save it by the action menu and all the other options that are the floppy disk. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Eric Pratt, and I am the User Support Supervisor here with the SSIS Business section at DHS. And the slide that I'm going to walk you through is copying placements between siblings. Before I get into the details of copying placements between siblings in the permanency folder, I just want to make sure that prior to doing so, that you have all sibling relationships entered under the relationship folder in SSIS. And then initially you will create a continuous placement as well as a placement in location and absence for the original sibling in order to be able to copy that placement into a sibling's permanency folder. So starting up here in the top left-hand corner, this is sort of after a placement has been created for a sibling. This is the sibling that we are copying the placement to. So what a user would need to do is navigate to the child's folder and expand the permanency folder. Once that permanency folder is expanded, they're going to navigate down to the placements, locations, and absence folder and create an action menu, and then select new placement, location, and absence. Once that new placement, location, and absence is created under the PLA folder or placement, location, as absence folder, it'll be marked as unknown. You can create, in this second screenshot, you can create an action menu from that unknown folder and then select copy from sibling in that action menu. When you select the copy from sibling action menu item, the sibling menu will populate. Now, again, if you don't have any sibling relationships entered prior to trying to create this feature, you will not see any siblings in that grid. That third screenshot down on the right-hand side of the slide here is showing the sibling that we've already created the placement for, and we want to copy that sibling's placement. So we're going to select that sibling by clicking on them in the grid and then navigating to the bottom right-hand corner and using the select button. And then on this slide, we'll notice that the sibling Luke's placements, locations, and absence copied into his sibling Rumor's permanency folder. We want to make sure that we check the information that was copied and update as applicable. For example, we will need to update Rumor's school change information section. We also want to take note that the ICWA placement preferences do not copy when we use the copy sibling feature. And we want to make sure that we are looking at ICWA placement preferences tab for each child. Once we have verified the information is correct under the placements, locations, and absence folder, we'll want to save that screen. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to navigate to that sibling's continuous placement folder that we copied to. This screenshot shows the expanded continuous placement folder for the sibling Rumor. Notice the placement episode now exists for Rumor's current placement. We want to remember to click in the screen to bring it into edit mode and select the child, ICWA eligibility, and their current determination from the ICWA dropdown. And then if applicable, you would also complete Rumor's ICWA adoptive placement preferences. And in this example, the child does not have Indian heritage, so we will not complete the tab. Remember, it is best practice that you review all tabs for accuracy prior to saving. Any questions on the copy sibling?
Nope, not yet, Eric.
Okay.
All right, thanks me. Hi everyone, this is Marsha Riss. I'm the Change and Engagement Consultant with SSIS BizOps, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the reassigning workgroups tool that is available in SSIS. So the reassign workgroups option can be found from within the tools menu of SSIS. And some benefits of using the reassign workgroups tool include it can be used to see all of the workgroups assigned to a particular worker. Similarly to the My Caseload option under workgroup search, only assessment and case management workgroups will be listed, so no intakes. And it will include both primary and secondary workgroup assignment lists, depending on which one you have selected on the screen when you pull it up. Transfer. You can also use this obviously to transfer primary or secondary worker assignments from worker to another worker. You can transfer one, multiple, or all work group assignments at one time between workers. And it helps ensure unit assignments are updated for multiple work groups at the same time as updating the worker assignment. So this is beneficial for agencies that utilize or rely on unit-specific reports. So a lot of general reports, you'll recall, allow you to look at them unit specifically for work groups. And so if you're relying on those, they're not going to be accurate unless you're also making sure that that information is updated on the work group itself, not just workers when they change units. Don't confuse this particular tool with the assignment log, which can be used for initial primary worker assignment. The reassign work groups tool is not for initial worker assignments. Rather, it's for reassigning or transferring already assigned work groups from one worker to another. Next slide. And so once opened, the reassign work group screen, which I'm showing here, have the fields seen here. They'll initially be blank except for the assignment end and reassignment start dates and times at the top, as well as the primary assignments fields will be defaulted as marked. The assignment end and reassignment start dates appear editable, but are not. So FYI, we do have a defect submitted for that. Thank you to Olmsted, who reminded us of that. They default to the current date and time, with the reassignment start date time being 1 minute later than the end time seen here. So although they'll let you change it, if you apply that information after you've changed those dates and times, it still ends up saving in the staff assignment folder as right now, the minute that I've actually made the change. So just FYI, keep that in mind. There is a defect for that, and I'm going to be talking with our design team about that again today. So seen here, the from worker assignment ends on 9/19/23 at 8:23 a.m. The new worker assignment will start at 8:24 a.m., just 1 minute later. So that would be the default time that shows up. So this helps ensure that there's no overlap between primary workers and no gap either. But you want to be sure to transfer timely, obviously, since there's that defect in place where you can't actually backdate from the screen. The most common issues that workers find when they try to end a primary worker assignment and assign a new primary worker are the overlapping timelines of primary workers, or being unable to end a primary worker assignment because you already have a secondary worker assigned to the work group. And so the system only allows for one primary worker at any one time. And it also has the rule that it must have a primary worker assigned at all times that there's a secondary worker assigned. You can't end a primary worker assignment if there's a secondary worker assigned. However, you can use the reassign workgroup tool to ensure that there's no gap in primary worker assignment, since you're ending the one and starting the next all at the same time. So ensuring that there's no overlap or gap. So start by entering the unit and worker who you are reassigning or transferring from. So on that left side of the screen, once chosen, you will see the list of work groups, which lists this worker as primary. If you want to transfer secondary assignments for this worker, you're going to need to click the secondary assignment option. So you can see that on the screen there. And that shows then the list of work groups the worker is currently assigned as secondary worker on. So you have to do one at a time. Either I'm transferring primary work groups or I'm transferring secondary work groups. Once you have the left side of the screen populated, fill in the unit and worker you want to assign to. So that's on the right side of the screen. So now you're ready to highlight the work groups under the assign from worker section that you want to reassign to the to worker on the right side of the screen. So there's a few ways to go about this depending on what you're really trying to do and how many things you're trying to move at once. So you can click on one item at a time, one work group at a time, using and then use that top arrow that's pointing to the right. So you would highlight one item, one work group, use the top arrow. It's going to move it over to the right side of the screen. You could click on one item, let's say the top one, then hold the shift key while clicking on another item. So in the example that I show here on the screen, I clicked on the top item, the Amy Foster work group, and then I clicked on the bottom Amy Foster work group, which is, 3 from the from the top there, or I'm sorry, from the bottom. So I clicked on that holding the shift key. And when I did that, it highlighted all the items between that. That's really handy if you're trying to move over a bunch of things, but not everything at once. You can just use that shift key to highlight a bunch of items all at once. And then of course you would use the top arrow again. So it's only going to move the highlighted items when I use that top arrow pointing to the right. Another option for when you want to move an entire caseload from one worker to another worker is you're going to use the double arrows, which point to the right. So no need to highlight anything. If you use the double arrow, it's going to move that entire caseload list there over to the right side. And then the bottom two arrows pointing left are currently grayed out. So you can kind of see that on my screenshot where when they're grayed out, nothing happens, right? If I click on it. So they're grayed out because currently I don't have anything actually moved over to the right side. So that means there's nothing to move back to the left side. But if I had moved something over to the right side, I decided I didn't want to move that, or I wanted to move one of the items I had chosen back to the left side, I could use the bottom arrows. So they'll light up and be able to be clicked once I actually have things over on that right side of the screen. So if you get to this point where you've moved things over to the right side of the screen, but you didn't initially fill in something on the right side of the screen at the top, so like the unit and the worker, if you get to that point, you're going to find that, okay, now I'm all ready to transfer. However, my apply and OK, the buttons at the bottom, are still grayed out. They're going to stay grayed out until you have everything on the screen filled in. So there's things in the from worker, the to worker information is all in there. The work groups I want to move are all done. So everything's got to be entered before I can actually have that apply and OK buttons lit up so that I can actually transfer. All right, so let's go to the next one. Oh, I think you did. Thank you. So here you see that I actually moved over the previously highlighted items from the from worker to the to worker side of the screen. And now I'm going to click apply. So go ahead and click the next slide. So when I click apply, I get a couple of pop-ups. Sometimes I'm only going to get one, and sometimes I'm going to get both of them. So this first pop-up, that only comes up if I'm transferring from a worker in one unit to a worker that actually is assigned to a different unit. Okay, so because the units are different for my from and to workers, I'm going to receive this pop-up, this first one, asking if I also want to update the work group's unit assignments, so that they would match with the new workers unit. So in most instances, you're going to want to say yes to that, so that SSIS will automatically go and update those work groups to have their unit assignment on the work group match the new workers unit assignment. This is another reason it's best practice to recommend your users use the reassign work groups tool when transferring work groups, because quite often workers forget to update that work group unit assignment when transferring work groups, and this can cause a lot of confusion in various reports that rely on the work group unit assignment. And then the second pop-up will appear indicating a new assignment alert has been generated for the worker, and click OK to close the screen. So the newly assigned worker will receive that new assignment alert when they next log into SSIS. So it looks like there might be a couple of questions here. Let me just take a look.
Nope, I think we have them all answered, Marcia.
Did you answer them all? Oh,
Yep.
Excellent. Thanks so much. All right, any other questions? Now's your chance. All right, it doesn't look like it. And I think we're passing off to Eric.
Hey everybody, just want to make a quick plug for the service arrangement. I know that the use of service arrangements in SSIS is optional, but we do feel there is a definite benefit in many instances to their use. A service arrangement serves as a template for the payment request, eliminating repetitive data entry. For instance, think about entering that same information 12 times for a service provided all year. Now take that times the number of services you provide as an agency, and the service arrangement can come in handy for that. Service arrangements are good for the ongoing charges that come in. Once the service arrangement is approved, the service arrangement can be used to generate pre-printed vouchers and are sent to the provider for them to use as invoices. Additionally, using pre-printed vouchers helps to ensure accuracy in the billing and payment process. When using a service arrangement to generate a payment request, there are 5 fields required in order to process that payment request. So it's a huge time saver when using that service arrangement. And the use of service arrangement also allows the agency or your agency to better monitor agency spending. There are many service arrangement reports within SSIS to give you a picture of what you are intending to spend for the year, and also helps you keep an eye on your budgets. Next slide. Most individuals will have the option to create a duplicate service arrangement once a service arrangement is created in SSIS. Under the service arrangement action menu, you will see the option to create duplicate. The create duplicate feature copies information from an existing service arrangement to a new service arrangement. The new service arrangement will be in draft status. Comments and payments are not copied, but if there were amendments, the most current number of units and amounts are copied to the new service arrangement. You may wish to use the duplicate feature or duplicate service arrangement feature when your chart of accounts or brass service codes are updated. For corrections to existing service arrangements, for rate changes for foster care, or when copying a service arrangement for a sibling. I also want you to note that when you copy a service arrangement to a sibling, you can only do that from the service arrangement search option. You can't copy a service arrangement to a sibling when you are in the individual client's service arrangement folder. When you create a duplicate, you do want to check for accuracy. When using this feature, remember to make corrections and approve for service dates going forward, and also inactivate the old service arrangement that is no longer correct.
Eric, there's a question in the chat. We pay some providers many times. Is there any way to remove old service arrangements from the tree view so there isn't so many to scroll through?
Would that be when you inactivate a service arrangement, will it disappear from the tree view? I can also take that question back to Samantha.
We'll get back to you, Janice.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. I also want to let you know that there is a duplicate payment option from the payment screen. The screenshot over on the left-hand side shows that create duplicate feature. And you can create duplicate payments when, especially for waiver and AC clients, particularly with the use on chore services and transportation, where each payment needs to be entered separately by service date to claim. And it's also helpful for sibling groups when there is split costs or duplicate services provided to each child. And we're back to Summer.
Sorry about that. So good morning. Again, Summer Day Rosette. I'm going to go over creating a duplicate, or excuse me, the next tip I'm going to share will be duplicating court actions using the case details folder. However, I wanted to kind of share before I get into duplicating court actions. First, let me share how to access the case details folder. So in order to gain access to the case details folder, you'll need to isolate your work group in its own window. To do so, if you look at the left screenshot, from the tree view, you'd right click on the work group, scroll down and select open with case in new window. Once your work group is in its own window, the case detail folder will appear above the work group folder. So friendly reminder, we are creating a duplicate court action. So that means we've already got one under the court actions folder that we've created for one of the child participants. And as a shortcut or time saver, we're going to create a duplicate. To do so, you're going to, navigate to your case details folder, select the caret to expand. Once your case details folder is expanded, locate the court actions folder, right click on court actions again to expand that folder, scroll down and select create duplicate. Once selected, your duplicated court action will appear in the court actions folder with the date that it was duplicated. Next slide, please. There we go. So once your new court action opens, you'll have your data entry that needs to be updated on the right-hand side. So you're going to update the regarding by selecting the appropriate new client from the dropdown. Once you've selected the appropriate client, you'll move on to the child findings tab. Next slide. So using the drop-down selection under the child findings tab, you want to make sure that you're selecting the continuous placement episode. That is the one field in the child findings tab that actually shows up as a required field. Once you make that selection, you'll see the dates are already filled in on this screenshot, but you'll be the one making these selections on the of the dates. Excuse me, those dates actually will save when you create that create the duplicate. Those are the dates that will transfer over. Once you've selected the continuous placement episode, then you would save that work group, or excuse me, save that court action, duplicated court action. I do want to share though, you'll see that under court above here in the tabs in the screenshot, you'll see court action and ICWA QEW. The ICWA QEW will not duplicate, and that will actually need to be updated manually for any court actions that are duplicated in case details. Same for the QRTP placement approval. You wouldn't, actually, I'm going to ask Marcia. Marcia, can you share about the QRTP placement approval?
Say more. What do you want me to share about?
No, I'm sorry.
Like the submission or?
No, I'm referring to duplication of court actions. For the QRTP, if this was related to a QRTP placement, I'm sorry, Marcia, disregard. If this was related to a QRTP placement, then that information would also need to be manually updated. But that's something that would start at the create duplicate at the beginning, sorry, on this first slide here on 32, or 33, if you can navigate back. Thank you. You'll see that there are, oh, actually it's 34. I apologize, Ross. There's questions here where it says QRTP review type. Because we're simply creating a duplicate court action, we wouldn't be filling out anything in the QRTP placement approval or the QRTP screens. Sorry about that, Marcia. You can navigate back, Ross. The next one I'm going to go over is the inquiry during intake. So for ICWA MIFPA, as you know, you want to make sure you're inquiring about tribal lineage or Native heritage at the earliest possible time. In the American Indian Wellbeing Unit, sometimes we get questions about where inquiry is documented when it is asked during intake. When the reporter is asked about child welfare, tribal lineage during intake. So where we find this information is in the intake summary report. If you'll look under the description of incident, which is the second little screenshot at the bottom, there's some additional information at the bottom where it shows that the intake worker inquired about American Indian heritage, and the reporter either states that the individual is either a member eligible for membership, or the reporter will state if they're unsure of any tribal lineage. But the intake worker will just want to make sure that in the description of incident that it's documented there that they did inquire about tribal lineage or Indian heritage. Go ahead. Next slide, please. So the other thing I wanted to share about the next tip and trick that I'd like to share regarding inquiry. As you know, the ICWA eligibility determination tabs under the ICWA folder. The first tab is the status, but the second is the ICWA inquiry. We do get some questions about how to document the date and the response that was provided by the individual that was the individual that was being acquired of. But so when you speak with the mom, dad, any custodian, extended family, child, you must have you want to have a contact or activity completed. So sometimes that the inquiry documentation can happen when you do the first child observation. And if so, you just want to make sure in the purpose line when you're documenting that initial child observation that you inquired, who you inquired with and what their response was. I realized that using a contact or activity to document the date is an additional step. And so there is an enhancement request to expand some or add some additional information here on the ICWA inquiry tab, and that would include the date and possibly just another free text field so that you can add in the response that was provided when you inquired with each of these individuals. Ross, if you can go to the next slide. So this is just a copy of the, just a screenshot of the contact or activity if you did, or when, I know that it shows everybody in the notes, it shows that you spoke with everybody, but we realize that that's not always possible to speak with everybody at one time. Oh my God. So what you want to do is you would have to create a separate contact activity if you weren't able to speak with everybody at one time. You would want to make sure that the date that you spoke with them is in the contact activity. It automatically enters that. And then in the notes section, you could list what was stated when you inquired, whether the mom states that they're, either an enrolled member or there's no known Indian heritage, if there was an Indian custodian, or and then for the child, sometimes we get questions about, well, what if the child was too young? Or what if the child may not understand the question? So it's actually up to the social worker to determine the child's maturity in understanding that question. Or, when you ask, it's up to your discretion. If you feel like that child just wasn't understanding what you were saying, you would just want to document that in your contact or activity. And then the second or the last thing in your contact or activity in the purpose line, if you were, if you did inquire during the initial child observation, in the purpose line, if you could just put a / and then put ICWA inquiry, just to identify that you completed ICWA inquiry at that time. Maybe you want to list who you inquired with in the purpose line. That's completely up to you. But if there are multiple contact or activities to match the individuals that are required, that you're required to inquire with in the purpose line, you just want to make sure that you're identifying it as ICWA inquiry. Any questions?
Not at this time regarding ICWA inquiry, Summer Day. Thank you.
Thanks.
Looks like we're going back to Eric again.
Hey folks, I just put a slide together with some keyboard shortcuts and mnemonics for individuals who like to use their keyboard versus their mouse. So they are going to be listed on the next slide, but I just wanted to list out something that was sent in by Kelly Madsen from Min Prairie. She indicates that her favorite SSIS trick, which is a mnemonic, and probably the most basic, is a keyboard shortcut that she uses all the time when doing a person search. After finding the person, instead of using the mouse to move the action button or right click on the person line and click to view the county detail, she just simply presses Alt, A, and then V with her left hand, and that'll bring the view county detail up versus using that right click and then view county detail in the menu. The vast majority of her work starts with the person search. So this keyboard shortcuts saves her a lot of mouse movement, and it saves her arm from aching at the end of the day. And she also does the same thing while working in the clearing log, except for to get the view county detail in the clearing log, she uses the Alt A and then C. The next slide is a list of keyboard shortcuts and mnemonics. These keyboard shortcuts are listed in various action menus in SSIS. The keystrokes listed on this slide are only used for the purposes described next to where you are in like a tree view or where you are on a screen. Please note that not all of these keys will be available at all times in all screens, but when they are used, they can save you some time. So those are there for your review. Next slide.
Thanks, Eric. So we want to, of course, provide you where your SSIS resources are. So you can go to the SSIS resource page for, training and the mentor program and archives support, release information, what's new, release notes, known defects, SSIS worker documentation, and fiscal documentation. So always remember and never forget SSIS resource page on CountyLink. If you have questions regarding this particular coffee talk, you can contact the SSIS help desk at the address listed. And as always, the coffee talks are recorded and reference materials can be found at the Minnesota Child Welfare Academy SSIS training site. So feel free to go to that link. And I think we got Eric back up once again to talk about the Mentor of the Month.
We do have one quick question. Jeanette Danielson is stating that she's having trouble with printer grid settings saving since converting to Azure, and she's wondering if anyone else is having this issue. Or if any panelists know anything about it.
I would just mention, I'm not sure if we have anyone from the help desk on right now, but I recall this being mentioned at one of the open discussion sessions that Tier 2 does. I wonder if you can send that into the help desk. I think sometimes it sounds like it has to do more with the settings, like the printer mapping settings and things at the agency, it seems like, but they can take a look and see if there's some advice that they can give. So send that into the help desk, please. Thanks.
Thanks, Marcia.
And the Mentor of the Month, the new Eric is Heidi, is going to take this screen.
Thank you, Ross. Hello, everybody. This is Heidi. I would like to announce that this month we are celebrating Terry Quitschreiber from Becker County, who is our Mentor of the Month. And our team finds Terry a pleasure to work with, and she is so knowledgeable and diligent in her SSIS efforts. So, Terry, we applaud you. And per Jenny Anderson from Becker County Human Services, I'd like to share a quote. She says, Terry has been an SSIS mentor since its inception. She takes SSIS mentor duties seriously and supports anyone in our agency who has questions or needs help. Terry offers creative solutions to problems, identifies potential enhancement opportunities, and doesn't quit until a solution is found. We appreciate her and her SSIS leadership so much. Jenny, thank you for providing that quote. And Terry, thank you. We appreciate you so much. And again, thank you to you and your staff. I'm not sure what happened, but anyway, we would like to announce October's Coffee Talk will be an open discussion Tuesday, October 24th. It will be from 9 to 10:30 a.m. I actually have put the registration information into the chat. So if anybody would like to register who hasn't done so, please feel free to use that link. And if you have anything you'd like to share or anything you'd like us to address or questions you have about SSIS, please feel free to submit those to me directly, and we will compile everybody's ideas and questions and put together our presentation and bring that to you at that time. So anyway, thank you again for joining us this morning. We hope all of you have a good day, and we look forward to seeing you in October.
Thanks, Heidi. I think I'm working again now. So I will finish up
Thanks,
by
Ross.
I'll finish up by saying, stay golden, Minnesota. Radio Ross out.